Manchester United with a 1-0 win over West Ham. Marcus Rashford, the goal scorer in this one, his 100th Manchester United goal. He's been talking as well this week, saying and admitting that he wasn't in the right headspace last season. He said, he had to get his priorities right. He has to put football first. But he was the most attacking threat in this game. He did get the goal as well. I want to look overall at his career at Manchester United. Have you been underwhelmed or happy with how he's performed?
Numbers aren't bad, but yeah, there's a lot more to it. We all know it, right? I'm past the potential because we questioned that. How long we're going to wait for that? Sometimes it does take a right environment, and the environment wasn't ready for him. I mean, he is injured quite a bit, which is a separate issue. That's not an issue of talent, but it's an important one. But again, under the last two coaches, he probably didn't feel the love. He wasn't the one that everybody was looking at. And you could see now that it's different. The environment is a lot more positive. I also think, he looks happy. He looks like he's ready to break out, isn't he? I mean, he's breaking out quietly, but he almost looks at that level that we all were hoping for, right? If you look at the player himself and you say, wow, you could see it, right? You walk a little bit taller, you try a few things, right? And I think the body language has been negative from him for a long, long time. To some degree, as a player, I don't blame him because, as I said, I mean, he was never kind of the one. Even though Manchester United weren't at their best, I never felt like Marcus Rashford was the first player on the team sheet. I think he feels that. And, the big question still remains with Cristiano Ronaldo. And again, you and I talked about it last time. And this was a great example of that, this particular match, because they were both getting in each other's way. And I continue to say this was a great example for me that Cristiano Ronaldo is the fifth wheel in this team. He really is. I mean, there were a couple of times where they were making the same runs. They were asking for the same ball. Again, Cristiano Ronaldo with an average game at best again. So yeah, I think it's a massive positive in terms of what we're seeing from Marcus Rashford.
Let's talk about Christian Eriksen then. Great showing from him. And it's just amazing that he's been able to come into this side and do what he's done. And we were talking just the other week, Janusz, about how you do notice already when he's not in this team that they miss him.
In so many ways, and it's not that the facts are out there. Maybe they are, I mean, I don't want to really get too deep in the weeds and spend my time constantly looking how many balls, passes, and all that. But in so many ways, I feel that Eriksen is the most important player on this team, more important than almost anybody. And I'll tell you why, because, if you look at Manchester United, for the most part, even under this coach, I mean, they like to play on the break, right? But Manchester United are bigger than that. They need to carry the games. And that's an issue, right? That's when you have a balanced team, which we often talk about. And in order for Manchester United to have that balanced team, now that they have the anchor in Casemiro, you have to have a player like Xavi was, right? Like Pirlo was. A player that in possession, even if it's tight, is not afraid to dink that ball over the back floor, which he does very well. He did it in his game, and I continue to watch for it. And that's the beauty of it, that they're always going to be very good on the break because they have the players. Even if you look at Rashford and others with Anthony, they can break. There's no questions about that, and they're pretty good at that. But I think there are times where you do have to kind of break down two banks of four, whatever it may be. And it's easy to say, well, you got to play the game wide. You got to get the fullbacks involved. That's all great. And you do have to do that. But sometimes you have to have the quality to do that. Now, Bruno Fernandes is also a player that can do that as well. But I just think that Eriksen is a perfect deep lying playmaker, the one that will drop off, the one that will take the ball away from a center back, or maybe sometimes when he gets back in between the center backs to get the ball off a goalkeeper, right? You know how important is bringing the ball out of the back now. That's something that, it's a buzzword as well. And I don't necessarily think that Manchester United have those type of players. Think about it. When I think of Lisandro Martinez, I think he's capable. Harry Maguire, okay, yes. But when they have the ball, even Varane, they're good. But when Eriksen drops in there and gets it, that's a different story. And then he can find Bruno Fernandes, who can do the same thing a little bit higher up the pitch as well. So I think Eriksen's been good. I think there's more to come from him. And I do think that he's in many ways a key to Manchester United's success.
So we're starting to see players feeling important under Ten Hag. We saw how important De Gea's save was in this game. So what's your assessment of United at this point? Because it sounds to me like you're saying that Ten Hag is laying those foundations of his team right now.
Yeah, he's got the spine, doesn't he? I mean, you know, I always look, we've talked about Arsenal, lack of spine for how many years? It's different, right? You're talking about Manchester City, they have that. Liverpool, I still, when healthy and playing well, they have those type of players, right? With Manchester United, I think that was lacking for years. And right now, De Gea was always great. And he showed his greatness in the last few minutes of this particular game because, you know, a couple of unbelievable saves from him. Lisandro Martinez is making many people look silly.
They still won't admit it, though.
Well, you know, I mean, the story is still to be told. I mean, it's not like he's the sort of player that you right away warm up to and say, well, absolutely, in this league, he's going to be the one. But so I can understand that. I think, you know, when he was making all those mistakes, I mean, I wonder, didn't you? I mean, you have to wonder. Yeah, I mean, you see the adjustment period. Obviously, players need that. And he's proving that he is a bulldog and he reads the game well. And it's, you know, it's one of those players that he's tough to get by. Look, Harry Maguire coming up, perfect timing, right? And look, you bring him at a time where things are going well. So now all of a sudden, Harry Maguire, no pressure on him. Different sort of pressure if, say, United was still under Rangnick or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, where, okay, Maguire's back, let's look at him. And I promise you, everybody would be just looking about Harry Maguire. But he comes into a team that's in a good place. And all of a sudden, I don't even remember if Harry Maguire played well or not. But I don't remember him not playing terribly.
Right, but that tells the story in itself.
Right? I mean, I remember being in that time. There's sometimes you get an opportunity where you know teams in a bad place and the expectations are too high. Nobody's playing well, and the coach says, "Here, go play." I think this was a right timing to bring Harry Maguire in because things are, you know, I want to say good at Manchester United.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis, and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.